Hi there, my name is Kay Moon, and I am a twin flame channel and Western astrologer. And this is a video about the full moon in Scorpio 2020, occurring on May 7th, 2020 at 6:45 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, if you happen to be on the eastern seaboard of the United States. Please check a time zone converter for your local time zones. So, full moon in Scorpio, my friends. It is what a ride. What a ride we have all been on. Before I get too deep in this video, I do want to mention that the June calendar is open for eclipse season personal readings. We are on the eve of eclipse season, which, as some of you know, the nodes changed from Capricorn Cancer into the Sagittarius Gemini axis, heralding in a new focus for all of us for the next 2 years' time in terms of our learning and development. Maybe not 2 years, a little more like 20 months, 19 months. And this new season is going to be a lot about communication and how we manage our communication and how we manage our minds and our mouths, what we say and what we think to create our worlds. So if you know you have significant mutable energy in your chart, because these are both mutable signs, Sagittarius and Gemini, mutable energy being Sagittarius, Gemini, and Virgo, Pisces, this would be a great time to do a check-in to understand how these eclipses coming up starting in June and going through the end of 2021 will impact your chart and what they're bringing into your life. You can email me at chrysalismoon@gmail.com, KRYSALISMOON@gmail.com, to dig into a eclipse reading for yourself. Getting into this full moon energy, we've got the full moon trine Neptune during this full moon. So here's our full moon in Scorpio here at the 17th degree. And then here's Neptune over here in water sign Pisces at the 20th degree. And when we have two water signs speaking to one another in this way, it does amplify the emotional energy brought into this kind of full moon. Full moons are already times when emotional energy can be heightened both in ourselves and in the collective. If you are a water sign or have significant water in your chart, you're probably going to feel this full moon a lot. The Neptunian energy brought into the conversation, and both Pisces and Scorpio, the two both represent hidden energies. Pisces, the unseen spiritual world, and Scorpio, the unseen transformational world. Neptune on its own tends to dissolve energy. It tends to allow things to dissipate as opposed to come together. And this full moon in the sign of transformation and alchemy is bringing an energy to it that is saying, hey, it might be time to look at what it's time to dissolve and let go of in our psyche and in our consciousness. In particular, as well, because this full moon is also opposite Mercury over here in Taurus, Taurus being the opposing sign of Scorpio. And so when we have moon opposing Mercury, this tends to be an energy of head versus heart, emotions versus mind, where the two don't sit in the same place. There's a pull in both directions, but they're not in the same direction. This full moon is also in conjunct the Venus-Vesta conjunction out here in Gemini. And Venus and Vesta together, what I love about Venus and Vesta together is that there's a commitment to what we consciously value in the sign of Gemini. There's a commitment to that which we consciously are loving. Unfortunately, though, the challenge with this is that this is an inconjunct energy in the sign of Scorpio to Gemini here. the thing about this is that when you have Moon in conjunct Venus, we end up with this energy of an imbalance in between our need for love and its actual fulfillment in the 3D world. Um, and because this is water versus air, Venus and Vesta sitting in Gemini, air sign, Moon sitting in Scorpio, water sign, this is, a conscious kind of recognition of feeling like my heart is over here, but my mind is over there, and I don't know how to reconcile the two. There's a bit of this desire to be loved that goes unfulfilled, or desire to express our value for something that can be a bit unmet at this time. A feeling of almost our hands are tied a little bit. Um, Recognizing a need to change or to do something to manage the imbalance, but feeling like for reasons that I'm sure any one of us could point to, a dozen or at least two, it's very difficult to take that action. There is a bit of a desire here, kind of latent in the energetic charge around all of us, to wait and see what happens, to wait and see, if things shift, if the moment becomes right, if someone else makes the first move. It's also, unfortunately, the shadow side of this energy is that it becomes very easy to identify how other people are failing to meet our needs, and really to project onto them that failing energy, while simultaneously missing that this is actually a mirror. And the universe provides helpful times of mirroring. In conjunct energies are one of them, where it really shows us where there's a gap or a hole in our self-care, and our capacity to really nourish ourselves. So I'll link this underneath the video because I think it's really important at this time. There's a video that Greg Braden created ages ago called The 7 Essene Mirrors. Because the funny thing about mirroring and the concept of mirroring is that when we look into mirrors, we tend to just think, oh, it's a direct one-for-one proportional ratio of what is happening here is what is happening in the mirror. But mirrors don't often work that way. And mirrors can expand or contract or invert or duplicate things. And so, in the spiritual sense of the word, Greg Braden breaks down the 7 types of mirroring that we can find in our relationships. And this is a perfect full moon to utilize to understand, okay, how are my relationships mirroring back to me where I can deepen my capacity to change, to grow, for self-care? That's the big kind of energy here, is that there is a kind of a full moons do represent completions, but what's getting completed here is a cycle of lack of self-care. There's kind of a recognition of what the energy is around us. All of our lives have changed significantly in the last 4 weeks, 6 weeks. And this is now the moment of, okay, so given that this is what the circumstance is, there are some things I know I must now do to care for myself to be able to get through this. And so this is a closing out of some old patterns that have compromised us, so a closing out of some old energies that have really stopped us from being able to be our best selves, is a great way to put it, and express who we truly are and what we really value about ourselves and about life and about the world. It's funny because, I was just working with the guidance from the Lightworker Oracle deck for this week. And one of the pieces that came through this week was paradigm shift. And there were a couple of key things that make sense to kind of share here. And I've shared this in the community section of this channel. So if you're not already subscribed, please do, so you'll be able to see these weekly guidances that are from this beautiful deck created by Alana Fairchild. Um, she writes in the guidance, she says, where is it? If you're feeling that you don't really know yourself, your relationships, or your place in the world as you once did, if you're feeling that what you once held to be certain now seems a little shaky, these are signs that you're going through a paradigm shift. This will bring you new perceptions that will free you, and you will find yourself shedding old limits, fears, and misconceptions. And as you trust the unexpected and the unknown, the universe will be able to help you in unexpected and unknown ways. So have a look over there, because it's interesting. I do these things kind of separately and just let spirit speak through the tools. And this was the two cards that popped out for this week, but this particular one was about recognizing the need to change our minds, and knowing that consciously we're going to need to sit with the fact that there's a lot of unknown at this point, but what we can know is about who we are and how we want to take care of ourselves in this moment going forward, despite the unknowns. So it's appropriate here that, the theme of this moon is change. Scorpio is all about change. The nodes changed signs and are in their new position. As I mentioned, here's the North Node here, bringing all of our attention and the collective now to Gemini and out of Cancer, which is the previous nodal sign. And the Gemini energy wants us to start to think things through. It wants us to explore with our mind that which our emotions unearthed through the Cancer eclipse cycle. So just know that, there was a lot of emotion through that Cancer period of time. And so this period of time, this Sagittarius season, Sagittarius Gemini eclipse cycle that we're going to move into, this is going to ask us to take how our hearts felt and what our hearts showed us to be true, and bring conscious awareness into how do we bridge the gap between our heart and our hands. How do we take what we knew to be true in our hearts and build a world that's a reflection of it in all of our relationships and in our work? This is about having this particular full moon, going back to this one. This is about having consciousness enough about who we are to leverage this time for change and transformation in the 3D world. There's just so much earth energy in this chart. There's 8 placements here and earth signs. So this really isn't about kind of meditating. It's not even about doing deep emotional work. And it's definitely not about, kind of journaling it out and thinking through it. This is really about the things that can be made clear and decided upon. This is about taking action today. So, for example, I sat down in my meditation about a week ago. And in this meditation, my guides had kind of mentioned, and they just downloaded a whole bunch of things to me about my life. And there were some things I just didn't really want to hear. And there were 2 relationships in particular. They said it's time to bring these to a transition point. One of them, they said, you need to end this. And the other one, they said, you need to make it clear that you can't continue to engage in this particular way, and then leave the ball in that person's court to figure out what they want to do with themselves around that. They may depart, they may stay, but you can't be who you've been to that person anymore, because you're now in a different place. And so, and running up to this full moon, initiating those conversations was a step that I needed to take in order to be in the implementation energy of that guidance. And so that's just an example. There are things that you may know, like the economy may be unclear. Work may be unclear, or maybe work is clear, but home may be unclear. Whatever is clear that is requiring for you to take a next step, the universe is saying with this full moon, do not delay. Take it now. Take the action that can be taken today. This full moon is going to expose where we've been fighting ourselves and holding ourselves back with our own stubbornness. And our own commitment to the old way. So here's the way that's playing out. You see there's 11 placements and fixed signs. And so I don't want to have some of these conversations. I don't want to have either one of these conversations. I liked the old way. There was a way in which that really worked for me, and the universe is exposing at this time. There are also a lot of ways that it didn't. And in order for us to get you to your next step, you got to get out of the step you're on now. You can't have this stepping stone and the next stepping stone at the same time. You got to let go of one to get to the other. That's the energy of this full moon. So, for some of us, this is going to mark the beginning of a revisitation of old patterns and energies. Interestingly, because of this dogged commitment completely exposed to us under this full moon, remember there are 11 fixed energies here under the light of this full moon. So even though this full moon is saying, hey, knock, knock, time to change, let's get after it, there's enough of the energies in the universe that are kind of saying, I'm kind of comfortable where I am. I don't know what that K moon's talking about. Do we have to? Probably not. I mean, the reality is in those two relationships that I needed to have conversations about, nothing was wrong. It was just time to move forward. And that's the thing here, is that sometimes things don't have to be wrong in order for it to be time to move forward, time to do the next thing. And so this is kind of a moment where the collective will split in two, and you'll see this in your relationships, and you'll see this in yourself as well as you make your own choices. Some people are going to start revisiting old patterns and old energies, old addictions, and old stories. And they're going to do this with very good reasons in their mind. Just so that you know, very good reasons are also known as excuses not to change. So for one of the relationships that I know I, needed to take an action in, um, there was a very good reason not to shift it and to try to hold on to it. It was one of my clients, from my other business. They, pay a significant amount of money in order to retain me for services every single month. That work has not slacked off or slowed down as the economy slowed. It's a wonderful way to make sure that, my monthly expenses are met. And simultaneously, the universe was like, the reality is you don't need this money, and you're stressed out about every deadline. You don't deliver what you feel like is your best work every single time. You're overwhelmed. They're getting underserved. It is time to change. Could any of those things have been corrected? 100%. Was it time to make the correction, or was it time to make the completion? This full moon is going to expose the moments where it's time to make the completion. And so, good reason. I had great reason to not initiate that closing. Wonderful reasons. And that didn't make it right to hold on to it. And so this is going to test integrity for a lot of people, including your own. where you know it might be time to let something go, either in your own behavioral patterns. It all depends on where Scorpio is sitting in your chart, what house Scorpio is governing. This full moon is going to ask you, okay, where is it time to make that shift? Um, and it's going to be hard to do it. I'm not going to lie. That fixed energy has us all clenched up like, ooh, I'm not letting this one go. I don't want to see this one say goodbye. um, and that's okay, because we have a little extra time here to deal with ourselves in the mix. Like I said, there's going to be a split, and you'll be able to see this in people where some people are going to say, yeah, I'm not letting it go. I have a very good reason not to. And for some of us, that's going to be justified for a time. And then you'll be asked by the universe to let it go later, AKA they're going to pry it out of your cold, dead hands. Um, you know that saying, I'm only going to let this go over my cold, dead body. Well, the universe will pry it out of your cold, dead hands then, if that's the way this is going to go. And that'll come later with these retrograde cycles that are coming. Or you can see this coming down the pike, kind of, on the highway when you're driving. You get exits that tell you this city is 30 kilometers away. And you go, okay, this is 30 kilometers away. I'm letting it go now, because I don't want to get to the 5 kilometer mark and then have to make a whole bunch of changes at the last minute. And the reason why we have this little bit of, we could call it grace period. I don't really think of these as grace periods. I think of them as testing periods. But the reason why we have this little bit of time before it gets pried out of our cold, dead hands is because we're walking into the retrograde season of 2020, and it's a big one. Right now, there are um, 3 planets that will go retrograde in May. There's one that went retrograde already in April, and we are in the preamble for about another 3 or 4 planets to go retrograde. They're already in their shadow positions for the year. So, let me just give you those now, because what will happen is as these planets go retrograde, the things that were previously that we are being told now, you got to let this go. This isn't going to work. You may attempt to let them go. And what will happen is a little bit of like a ricochet, like a flashback, not a flashback. I don't know what that word is. It's not coming to me. But that word when you like try to push something away and then it snaps back, there will be a period of double check with these retrogrades. And so I'll name these retrogrades for you now in the order that they're coming in. Pluto's already been retrograde since April 25th. It's going retrograde through October 4th, and it will be retrograde in its next meetup with Jupiter here in the sign of Capricorn. And this is going to be a culling of cycles that are completing in each of our lives. There's going to be a little bit of a reprieve period of complete and utter destruction, but not fully. So just get your bearings, because there's going to be another massive period of shift when Jupiter and Pluto meet again. And they're going to meet 3 times this year. Then coming up now, we've got Saturn going retrograde May 11th through September 29th. Saturn's also here in the sign of Capricorn. And then we've got Venus going retrograde. Venus will go retrograde. Here she is in the sign of Gemini, May 13th through June 25th. So you can see it's back-to-back days, May 11th, May 13th, May 14th, and then we're in this kind of 3-month retrograde window where significant planetary energies are moving retrograde in the sky, working to help us understand why these things need to be completed and now is the time. So you can wait for those situations to occur because they're gonna show up. Or, you could just, if you know what they are now, just begin the process of creating those completions. During these retrograde periods, like I said, there's a group of folks who are going to fall back into some old patterns, almost as if they're trying to fall back asleep when they've woken up 1 hour before their alarm clock goes off. There will be a little bit of, haha, let's just kind of pretend like, things didn't, a massive shift didn't happen. Let's keep things as close to normal as possible. But as you know, that sleep, when you woke up 1 hour before your alarm is supposed to go off, that sleep can be some of the most fitful, unrestful, tossing and turning sleep we get, because we know in the back of our mind that we're gonna have to get up soon. And so there's that edginess to the sleep, despite how much and how bad we know we need it. The other thing that can happen too is that you fall right back to sleep and the alarm wakes up and it's like you didn't get any sleep in the first place. You slept like a rock, but you feel just like you did the hour before. And it's like, oh, I should have just gotten up an hour ago. The extra hour didn't help at all. This second wake-up call is going to occur when the planets move forward. Slowly, one by one, the clarity is going to come that what was revealed during the light of this Scorpio full moon that needs to come to completion, it's going to be required of us. It's going to be not optional. The other group of folks are going to decide that now's the time to rise and take advantage of this extra hour and use the time to recognize and place where their life isn't yielding the results that they want or the results that they say that they're committed to. And that's this Venus and Vesta energy. Because there's an inconjunct here between the moon and Venus and Vesta, the consciousness about this is what I want and this is what's not happening is going to become loud and clear at this time. And this group is going to start to make the changes in their 3D world to get there. There's been a lot of questions in my sessions with clients. When's a good time for me to, some people say, hey, when's a good time for me to get a divorce? Or because I know my marriage is wrapping up, I just, want to do it in a way that's going to have the least amount of friction. When's a good time to start my new business? I know I've got this new business in me, but the economy, I'm not sure if now is a good time. When's a good time for me to move, Kay? I really want to move, but I'm not really sure, if, home prices are going to fluctuate, if I'm going to be able to sell my home. Or, Kay, when should I look for a new job? Because I know that I don't want to stay in the job that I've got. I'm completely unfulfilled and unsatisfied. And they say, all of them, when's a good time? And I say, yes. That's the answer. Yes. It's a good time. Period. Full stop. 2020 is the year to make the change. It is a year of such high flux, high intensity, high transformation. And this full moon in particular is kind of poking you in the back. There's already been a knock at the door. There's also already been a tap on the shoulder. There's also already been a little, hey, pay attention. Now we're getting a harder poke. Like, you need to do this. This is a hard poke. Waiting through the retrograde cycle is only going to bring the 2x4s. And nobody wants to get hit with a brick or a 2x4 when they could just have gotten tapped on the shoulder. If you know you need to change some stuff, go ahead and change it. Now is the time. Because these energies, this energy of change and transformation, they don't change. 2020 really is a year unto itself, and the way that it is bringing in, it is like one huge, massive, collective tower moment. You can call it a tower moment, but a tower moment is like a moment. This is a full year. This is the year we all are invited to climb into the cocoon and break down and rebuild ourselves as butterflies. So you're this is the time to like, if there were best conditions under which to create your dreams, as crazy as what I'm about to say is going to sound, this is it, people. It doesn't get better than this when it comes to creating your dreams. It's okay. Like, these are the conditions that gives rise to genius. These are the conditions that give rise to ingenuity, and the conditions that give rise to and expose where there have already been so many fractures in certain relationships that it's time to look at them with truthful and honest eyes instead of trying to keep patching it over. It's okay if the change moves slow. It's gonna. That's the nature of this year. It's like everything kind of, it's a weird kind of year where time expands and contracts in this unusual way. It's okay if you're, moving pretty steadily at it, but it's feeling a little wobbly. What new bike rider is perfectly balanced? Nobody. Sometimes you fall off. That's okay. It's okay if you're still wrapping up old stuff and it's taking a lot of energy that is causing you to move slower at developing your new stuff. That's okay. This is the nature of change, being in between. It's both a little of this and a little of that. And that's okay at this time. The point is to keep going. The reason why this is okay in particular is because our nodes are sitting here in these mutable signs. And so the mutable signs are the signs every year that govern one season transforming into another. And so this particular time period is governing one season on planet Earth, these 18, 19 months, one era on planet Earth transitioning into another. If you look at the mutable signs, for example, when we look over here at Sagittarius, Sagittarius is the season, if you're in the northern hemisphere, where it changes from being officially fall by the end of Sagittarius season to being officially winter. Pisces is the season that has us go from being officially winter at the start to being officially spring at the end, and so forth. Gemini starts as officially spring and ends as officially summer. And last but not least, Virgo starts as officially summer and ends as officially fall. These signs are known as the mutable signs, and the mutable signs govern transformation and the shift from one thing into another. These are not easy. There are some weeks during a season where it feels totally this season, and then the following week it feels completely the preceding season. And then it flip-flops. That's normal. The point is to not try to cling to the old when the new is upon you. Go with the new. This is going to be a little messy. It's okay. Go with it. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's all right. Go with it. It's going to be pretty raw at certain times. It's okay. Take breaks and keep going with it. It's going to get awkward. It's okay. Go with it. Go with it and let life meet you halfway. And this is the real gift of this year, is because when we're working for it, this Saturn Pallas conjunction here is going to allow us to reap the fruits of our effort, because Saturn is all about the structure, the work ethic, the boundaries, the going after it with our discipline and our focused effort. And Pallas wants to protect. Pallas will, since they're riding together this year all year long, Palace will protect that which we are working toward. But if we're not working, there's nothing for Palace to protect. So it's incumbent upon us to lay away the future that we're working toward in our own energetic escrow and not delay it, not put off the purchase of it with our own efforts any longer. Ay, yeah. So much fun. Yeah. This is going to be a big year of change for everyone. So just know that the people in your life are also facing these same changes and transformations. And it's not just this year, it's next year too. Um, it's my sincere hope and wish that, as we move through these energies, we can be kind to ourselves as we're facing the truth of how we want our lives to look, and kind to others because they're just as wobbly on their bicycles as we are too. They're going to present some of the old way as well. They're not always going to be perfect into the new. It'd be wonderful if the roll from fall into winter was, a day where every day it just gradually started to get a little colder and snow a little more. But some days we have, really warm days in the middle of what we thought was a roll into winter. That's okay. It's okay. Know that the direction is winter and it's time to keep going. And know that everyone else is going through that too, that they're struggling to figure out their way as well, and work to give each other and ourselves as much compassion as possible and as little judgment as possible as well, as people find their ways. This is also going to be a full moon in particular where we have some realizations about some places where maybe we've let ourselves down a bit, and not in a self-blame kind of way, but in a self-love kind of way, in a I can have more than this from life kind of way. And I see how certain things I've been doing have been stopping me from getting it. I see what I can do here to get more. And so as those things start to come to awareness, the thing to do is just get to work. Get to work. So the May calendar, as I mentioned, is full, but I am booking in June, and now's the time to book your eclipse season readings, and to have this deeper look at where the universe is asking you to transform. Because this is such a transformational time, like I said, the mutable energies are going to feel this most, but you're also going to feel this a lot if you are an air sign, because the north node sits in air sign Gemini. You're going to feel this a lot if you're a fire sign. The south node sits in fire sign Sagittarius. This is going to be a pretty big season of transformation for you. My cardinal signs, you're almost done. You're almost at your reprieve. As soon as this energy here that's been hanging out in Capricorn starts to move more fully into Aquarius in December, you're going to find that you get a little bit of a breather so that you have the opportunity to integrate the changes that were upon you this year. But we've got a little ways to go. Hang in there, cardinal signs. Cardinal signs are Aries, Libra, Capricorn, Cancer. Hang in there. This is one of the toughest years, but you're strong enough. You can do it. I truly believe that it was a divine gift that this particular transformation was happening in cardinal signs, because cardinal signs are the initiators. They're the beginnings, the initiatory energies of the zodiac. So with such a big change happening, impacting all the cardinal signs right now, the business ideas that you have, they're not an accident. You didn't incarnate here for no reason. Get to work. You are the leaders that the zodiac needs at this time. Keep going. Okay, thank you so much for watching, liking, subscribing, and sharing. You know what to do if you'd like a personal reading. chrysalismoon@gmail.com. You'll receive an autoresponder first that explains how to book a reading with me. and I will respond shortly thereafter, making sure that you received it. Once you've gotten your you've made your payment, you'll receive an invitation to schedule, and we'll be in the calendar for June. I'm looking forward to reading for you. Thanks so much. Take great care, and bye for now.